So in this video I'm going to show you how to use the Vlookup formula in Excel. Vlookup stands for vertical lookup. What it does is search the first column of a range of cells and then returns a value from any cell in the same row of the range. What that means is that when you use Vlookup formula, you can search by example one of these ID numbers and it will return data along this same row. To give you an example, here you'll see I've got a formula equals Vlookup. So I'm searching for 101 and I'm searching from A2 to C6, so that is my range of cells. So column index number is 2, so I want column B, and Vlookup labels them by 1, 2, 3, so B would be 2. And then the range lookup I have is false, which means I want the exact wording. So when I use that formula, what it does is it tells me that if I put in 101, then it's going to return the last name Smith. If I were to change this to 102, then it returns the last name Johnson. The thing about the Vlookup formula, just doing this, is I haven't really found a whole lot of uses for it, just Vlookup only. It's when you combine it with tables and using if statements that you really begin to see the power of the Vlookup. So that's what we're going to do. So my second sheet here called table, you'll see I've got a table. It's an ACT reading. On the column A, you'll see the raw score up to 40 that students can score. And then in B is the scale score that you would receive if you were to receive this raw score. So when I create this table, what's really important is in the table is I go in and I name it. And so I named this table scales. And this is really important in terms of using this Vlookup formula. So I've got this table and I've got it named scales and I've got my data entered. So I'm going to go to this third sheet that says scores, and you'll see here I've got raw score and scale score. Now what I want to do is I want to be able to put a raw score in, and when I put the raw score in, it's then going to return the appropriate scaled score. So I don't have to do any kind of math or anything. I can just type in a number and it's going to give me that scaled score without having to think about it. So here's how we do this. We're going to go in and we're going to put the formula you can see right here. Formula to be entered in B2 is going to be equals if, and then we're going to say, so if A2 equals, then we're going to say scales, and you'll see it right here, so I can just double click on it. So scales, and then I'm going to choose headers. Okay, so then single bracket, comma, and then bracket, and then I'm going to choose raw score, close my brackets, comma, 0, comma, then I'm going to say Vlookup. So if A2 is scales, and we're referencing here the headers in the table and the raw score is that column, so then the Vlookup, and I'm going to say, so I want A2, the table of course, scales, column 2, and then false because I want the exact match. Then I'm going to close the parentheses. So now if we put a raw score in here, let's say 10, so it returns a scaled score of 14. So if we go back to the table, you'll see 10 is a 14. If we put in a 20, 25, then it returns a scaled score of 22. So we can drag this formula down, and as we're putting in numbers, it's returning the scaled score for us. So you can see how this Vlookup can become really effective when we use it with tables and then if statements. So when we go back here and look at our if statement again. So basically what we're trying to say is that if this score is a 25, then we're going to return, pull down here 25, and it will give us this scaled score of 22. So that's how you can use this Vlookup formula with a table and an if statement to really get some data out of it. And then in the next video I'm going to add in a drop down list with a chart that I'm going to insert that allows us to pick something from the drop down list and change the data in the chart using an if statement and the Vlookup formula.